Welcome back to Built the Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders shipping real AI products into the world. Today I'm joined by Raphael, founder and CEO of Nibbles, a public benefit corporation that's trying to give benefits to all pets in the United States. And they're launching a pet first credit card, which I'm super interested in asking about. Raphael, great to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I want to start with just the beginning. What were you doing before Nibbles, and what got you the idea and made you take the leap to start a company?
So before Nibbles, I was at another startup I founded where I was the CTO, and that was a company called Zen Business, where we formed LLCs and corporations for people online.
Awesome. And what was there something in the journey with Zen Business that made you come up with the idea of Nibbles, or did it just like happen separately?
Well, there was a few things that happened. So the idea came about in 2018. That year, I built an insurance product for small businesses. So I had no background in insurance, but I read a bunch, talked to a bunch of smart people, and was able to create a product for small businesses. So I became familiar with P&C insurance. And then that same year, around November, my HR department did a survey of all the employees. We were about 50 people at the time at Zen Business. And the number one requested benefit that we add next year was pet insurance.
Wow.
And that really caught my attention. I literally turned around to actually my co-founder today, Corey, and asked her, like, why do you want pet insurance? And she's like, oh, Princess, her dog, that's like my child. Like, she needs healthcare, and pet insurance is really expensive. Can't the company help out? And I really kind of wondered about that. So even though pet insurance is a healthcare product, since pets are property, it falls under property and casualty insurance. And I had learned how to pull the public filings. So I pulled down the filings, looked at the underwriting, and I was shocked at the loss ratios. They were in the ranges of 55 to 70. And if you look at human healthcare, the loss ratios are in the an amazing program is 85%.
Wow.
And these programs still run profitably. So I thought to myself, hey, I bet I can figure out a way to make a product that's much more accessible to people. And that's where the idea of Nibbles came about. And then I was very fortunate that Zen Business became a unicorn and grew very large. And once it got real big enough and very stable, I decided to step away and found Nibbles because I just love the early startup journeys.
I totally get that. Yeah, I think my career started out in a startup, and I went to a sort of larger corporation and really just missed that early stage. And so I also really resonate with what your co-founder said around pets being their kids or their family. I've got 3 dogs at home and no kids, but we kind of treat them like they are. So that's awesome. And I love that you really have a really clear founder mentality of oh, I hear about this problem, I'm immediately going and doing market research on pulling data and everything. So how that's one insight into the state of the industry before you started Nibbles. But was there anything else that you found in your early research that made it clear that there was a space for this?
I think the other side was that pet insurance on its own had been growing 20% year over year. Even today, it only has single digit market penetration, but 2 in 3 homes now have either a dog or cat, so some type of pet in their household. And there's been a very real humification of animals. They're no longer seen as this creature that sits outside. It's a full member of the family, just like another child. So, and you've seen that in how pet spend has just dramatically been increasing in the US. And something we did at Zen was we really leaned into the macro trend of small businesses being formed and entrepreneurship, and leveraging that scale to bring value to people, because it was a very disjointed journey in value propositions. By collapsing it all in, saving people money, at Nibbles, I really want to collapse all these different pet verticals into one platform. And through that, like verticalization, just bring a lot more value and cost savings and just ease of use for people.
Love that. Yeah, and that those are really interesting statistics around like market penetration and the growth in this industry. One of our customers is Dutch.com. They're also in the sort of pet and veterinarian space, and also trying to kind of bring more services to pets and pet owners that are harder to come by, or more expensive through other routes. And so they're doing amazing. And it's clear that this industry and this space is like growing really well. So great macro environment to be in. Who's like your primary user, like our customer? I mean, obviously it's probably a pet owner, right? Or is it businesses?
No, we're a direct B2C platform. And our customers are right now, they're more affluent. It's like average age of 45, leading more female between the age range of 30 to 50. Much higher income. Average income for us is about 160 right now. And then on a qualitative side, they just love their pet. Like they're like, this is my baby, this is my child. Like I would do anything for them. And so it's more like affluent millennials. And if they are parents, it's usually younger children.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's great to hear that you like really know your consumer base really well. Um, how do you actually figure out on the note of like age and stuff like that? I'm sure there's things you can do in marketing to, target those demographics. But when it comes to like really loving their pet, is there a way that you sort of like validate that as they're going through the buying process, or in terms of how you market to people?
In terms of market to people, it's just all around how this is something you love, an important part of your life that you want to make sure is taken care of. You don't want to worry if something bad would happen in terms of accidents or illness, because veterinary expenses have really been increasing in costs driven by inflation. And, the unfortunate thing is when you need insurance, if you don't have it, then you can't get it, especially with pet insurance. Pre-existing conditions are a real thing. Still, it's not like human healthcare in that sense. So I really want to just make it accessible upfront. And then, it's pretty easy to market to people on Meta with puppies and kittens.
That's a great point. On the note of like the pre-existing conditions, is that something that you guys are thinking about, or even have the ability to like, lobby for, or kind of try to get things changed in terms of how
I think in the
how these
future,
companies look at it?
we are going to really try and change the way underwriting is done for pet insurance. To be quite honest, there's only really two pet insurance policies that have ever been written in the US. Everything else is what's called in an industry a Me Too, which is just taking someone else's approved underwriting and going to a regulator and saying, hey, I'm going to use the same modeling, because it's so difficult to get new
Mm-hmm.
models approved, because
Mm-hmm.
because insurance is regulated across all 50 states, and creating a brand new model takes a lot more scrutiny and cost up front. And we really want to reach a scale and size that we're able to bring these new underwriting models into market, closer to what you see in Europe, where they pay less, but they get so much more.
Awesome. And you mentioned all 50 states have these, requirements. Am I correct in understanding that it's different for each state too, in terms of insurance requirements, or is it pretty similar across
It's
the
pretty
US?
similar, but the thing is, like, every regulator needs to chime in on the underwriting that's driving any insurance policy.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Great. Well, yeah, love learning about your business and your customers. Now I'm curious to hear about like how you guys have been, leveraging or thinking about AI, either in your own business practices or in your product or anything like
Like, we're very much an AI company, but my viewpoint is, like, I don't like to position ourselves as an AI company, because now it's just table stakes. It's like saying 10 years ago, I'm a cloud compute company. I'm like,
that.
that's just something you do now. Really, how we're leveraging AI, I think, in the most cool way is traditional pet insurance is actually reimbursement insurance. So what that means is you're allowed to go to any vet you want. There's no such thing as a network. But the thing is, the vet does a procedure, and afterwards they hand you a bill, and you have to pay out of pocket. And then there are no integrations between the insurance carriers and these vets offices. So you actually have to compile the data, submit it to your insurance carrier, and then go back and forth with them with the claims adjuster. And then when it is approved, if you're with an insurtech, they're generally pretty quick. It's like 3 to 10 days, they'll ACH into your account after approval. But a lot of the insurance carriers take 60 days to pay out, and it's a check that arrives in the mail.
Wow.
So
It's
how,
terrible.
yeah, it's like a lot of times people with pet insurance will forego accessing it, not because of just the headache of the process. And they're like, I'll use it when it's like a $10,000 surgery. I'm not going to use it to get my $60 back because I just don't have the time. How Nibbles works and how we're leveraging AI is that when you go to the vet, they do that procedure, you pay with the Nibbles credit card, and through the merchant ID, we see you've gone to a vet's office. And our AI automatically picks that up from the merchant ID. And it asks you through our mobile app, like, hey, did you visit the vet? Would you like us to start the claim? And all you have to do is say yes through the push notification in our app. And then our automated systems will reach out to the vet's office. Our voice AI will literally talk to the vet tech and have them send over the information to us. And there's no consistency in how this information is kept because there are no standards in that way. But our AI gets it formatted all into a consistent manner. And then via API, we submit it to the claims adjuster so that everything is presented and easy for them to just review and approve. And then after that's done, we actually route the reimbursement back onto the card. So by the time you get your credit card statement, that visit, that charge has been wiped. But you also get 3x points on the visit. So on the full amount. So if you were charged $1,000, that's just gone. And now you've got 3,000 points that you earn through Nibbles that you can apply to different pet benefits. And
That's super innovative.
And that's really, I think, one of the coolest things we've done with AI is taking this very clunky, hard process and made it fast and seamless for people. So it's just kind of magic.
Sounds like a win-win for your business operation side and the consumer themselves. They can get the things faster, and you don't have to have people spending a bunch of manual time dealing with these vet techs or whoever. Was this always like part of the product roadmap or the plan for Nibbles, or did the advent of ChatGPT and LLMs like change kind of your roadmap and make you guys come up with this process?
We had a rough idea of wanting to do it, but really the admin of ChatGPT really solidified that this was something we could do. Like, honestly, before ChatGPT, I had seen voice demos from a Google presentation showing their voice chat to make reservations at a restaurant. So I knew the tech was kind of developing, but ChatGPT really opened the door. It had become way stable enough to allow for building on top of APIs. So you didn't have to go build that full LLM stack yourself.
Love it. And this is a pretty, I mean, we talked to a lot of people, a lot of business owners, a lot of people building AI are getting into it. And you guys have actually like implemented something end to end that solves a workflow, which is, puts you honestly in the top, 1%. How did you do that? Did you already have a team of engineers who could do this? Did you have to hire ML or AI engineers? What was your approach?
I'm very fortunate that I had already had success in making a unicorn, and I had amazing engineers, and a lot of them actually followed me from Zen to Nibbles, and they already had been studying AI very deeply. Actually, our head of data and AI ended up coming over to Nibbles as well from Zen Business, and her name is Jaya, and she's really helped in driving a lot of these like initiatives. Along with that, my co-founder and CTO AT is just a very strong engineer in general. And the two of them working together with the other team members were really able to just leverage the tooling around them to get this up and running.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been fascinating to see like what traditional software engineering teams can build without needing machine learning or data. I mean, obviously it still helps to have data folks, but it's not like you need like, data scientist and machine learning engineer and this and that, because LLMs are already trained for you, and like you said, they're available through an API. So amazing. Any like challenges you guys found? Like so far, it feels like, hey, we had the idea. ChatGPT came along, and we did it. Yeah.
On the AI front, not really. I mean, there are fail safes that like a human can pop in, and CS is always monitoring it. So, but I think that's just best practices, and that will self reinforce over time. Uh, as a business, though, in general, this is the hardest thing I have ever built. I'm navigating two very regulated industries, insurance and consumer finance. Um, I left Zen with the idea for Nibbles in November of 2002, and I didn't launch till January of this year because it took so much effort to actually get a consumer credit card to market. I technically launched in December of 2024, and I was the only consumer program to launch last year. And so far this year, I am the only new consumer program.
Wow.
It's
crazy.
Just the regulatory environment and the few banks that are able to do this are so limited. And also, it's very capital intensive. I've even told people I don't think I could have done this if I didn't already have success before, because it took us about $6 million to get to market purely on a story and a vision.
Wow. Is that a similar sort of challenge that companies like, let's say, Affirm or Klarna would have faced, or is it kind of a different sort of process?
It's a very different process to do. I mean, to do a loan. Credit cards are just scrutinized so heavily, and there's just so many consumer protections. While an Affirm will still have difficulty, it's still not at the level of a credit card.
Okay. Yeah, super interesting. How do you when it comes to the AI, tools you've built, how do you balance like using off the shelf tools? There's new ones coming out in the market all the time versus building things in house. Do you guys use any AI tools you really enjoy, or is it mostly just direct calls to the OpenAI APIs or Anthropic?
We use different tooling built on top of OpenAI that specializes in different areas. And really the thinking around that is that there's a reason startups develop specific and vertical. There's just so many variables that go into something, like building on top of an LLM, really digging down, and then layering on top of self the user experience. That last part of the user experience is the most important, and really as a startup where you should be focusing in, and you should leave it to other like highly technical dedicated people on building that tooling has always been my feeling. Like, of course, if nothing exists that meets your needs, you just like roll up your sleeves and do it. But I'm always of the mindset like, go find the best tools, build on top of them, and what's most important is the fulfilling the end customer's needs and giving them magic moments, because the end consumer doesn't care about AI or person. They just want it done and done well.
That makes sense. Are there any tools that stand out that you guys use for that process you mentioned earlier, or other AI tools that you use?
I think my favorite right now is Play.ai. Have you tried
No,
that?
I'm learning a new one every single day, so that's why I asked the question. I'll have to check them out. What do you love about it?
I've never seen a voice AI that it sounds so human. Like it, like literally, you know how humans have natural like breath pauses and tonal changes around like sentence and like structure. It
Yeah.
mimics it so well. I mean, you have to sometimes, like most people I show it to, they have to just really listen closely to figure out it's AI.
Wow. And that you're using that to talk to the vet offices, or are there other
Yeah,
use
it's the vet
cases?
offices. So the vet techs like a lot of times don't realize it's AI.
Wow. And do they have any issues when they realize it is? Do they have any frustration with that?
Not really. I don't think it is. And if someone brings up like I like to speak to a person, we very quickly switch you off to human always. Like our CS department's great. At Zen Business, our NPS was higher than all of our competitors combined.
Wow.
And here at Nibbles, I'm trying to bring that same mindset in customer success. Like, a lot of people don't like their pensions company, and I want to be the one that people just love.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that, like, very consumer focused or customer focused mindset. That's great to see. When it comes to, like, when you built that pipeline the first time that you used Play AI and other things to kind of automate this process with AI, what was your what was your development process? Like, how did you validate that it was working correctly? You mentioned you have humans in the loop. Like, how did that development process work?
Usually we just like grab something and start playing with it, and then we'll make an internal demo, and then we'll like literally just test it with our friends. And then we'll ask customers, like, or target person, hey, could you take a moment and try this? I love to get your thoughts. And then we'll production release and just monitor very closely, but always build in systems or quick ways that a human can like overtake the AI, and always is
Mhm.
be checking it.
Awesome. It seems like you guys really leaned in here and obviously took, like, the steps to be sure that it's, compliant to testing internally, etc. I hear from a lot of folks, especially like bigger, older companies in industries like yours, that they're like still creating an AI governance plan or strategy, and they haven't actually started testing things, and and then a new model comes out or something changes, and they have to go rethink their plan. My opinion is they're going to fall behind, um, and they should start by iterating and testing, like you're saying. But what would you say to those people? Because you're actually from that kind of industry. How do you balance those things? And
I think it's also the application of the AI is very important. Like, I'm doing a process that like the end consumer does not want to do. It really should have always been integrated, but there was no way to have the systems communicate to each other. And we're able to arbitrage that difference now because AI has built a new system that allows that. Also, it's not exactly critical because the Nibbles system, no matter what, the card still allowed you to pay and get the healthcare for your animal. Worst case scenario, a human will interject. I think where when AI is placed inside of critical roles and there's no human involved around that to interject, that's where I think AI needs to really be paused and thought about, because it's not thinking about the end consumer. It's probably thinking about some larger corporations' cost reductions.
makes sense. Yeah. Well, this has been super interesting conversation. I'm curious what's next for Nibbles. New
Um,
features,
the big
products.
thing that I'm really proud about, so Nibbles right now has a $250 a year annual membership fee, and that goes away on the 26th. So if you just get a Nibbles
Wow,
card, you will get completely full pet insurance for up to $10,000 a year for your
amazing.
animal. So
26th
like
of June
26th
this
of
month.
June. So it's
Awesome.
only so I really think it's going to make a huge difference for people, because it's going to be an expense of like $1,000 a year taken away from them just for having this card. And there's no annual membership fee anymore, and we don't have minimum spend. All you have to do is sign up.
Amazing. I'm gonna throw your website up on the screen before we kind of close out. And just curious, where other than nibbles.com, where can people find you, follow Nibbles journey, etc.
We're on Instagram and Threads, and those are like those are main places outside of here on nibbles.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Raphael. It's great speaking with you. Definitely great talking to someone who has, like, multiple startups under their belts, and really appreciate the time and the conversation.
No problem. It's great talking to you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.